This Bengals offseason has had some moves, not a ton of moves, obviously two big signings. We're going to grade the offseason, plus what Joe Burrow thinks about what the Bengals have done. We'll start with Joe right now on Enter the Jungle. Hi again, everyone, and welcome in to Enter the Jungle. I'm James Rapien. He is Andrew Fox Miller. You can catch us every single Tuesday at 8. Usually, we bumped it up a few hours here on Cincinnati Bengals Talk on this lovely Tuesday, weekly as well on FanDuel Sports Network, which it's our time of year with Reds baseball around, Andrew. I have a feeling that the people are going to be seeing a bit more of us here on FanDuel Sports Network with Red season looming in a few days.
We'll see. We will see. I'll be looking for it. I love when I get the photos. Hey, I'm out to dinner. Hey, I'm out at the bar. And look what was on after a Reds game. It's great.
Yeah. There's nothing Bengals fans like more, or Reds fans for that matter, than saying, hey, I have to deal with James and Andrew while I enjoy this cold one. And this cold one obviously is Garage Beer. We're proudly brought to you by Garage Beer. Let's dive in because there is a lot of wrinkles to this Bengals offseason. We've covered a lot of them right here on YouTube, where we have 54,000 Bengals fans that have already subscribed. Make sure you check us out there or wherever you get your podcasts. But Joe Burrow has been as frustrated as I think a lot of people, including myself, have been about the Bengals' activity or lack of. And we'll get to our thoughts on the Bengals offseason as a whole in a few minutes. Joe Burrow seems pleased with what the Bengals have done. He talked with Jeff Hobson of Bengals.com after the T. Higgins and Jamar Chase contracts got done. And he said a couple of things that were noteworthy. I'll read them to you. When you can re-sign guys like that and keep them around for an extended period of time, that gives you the best chance to go out and win Super Bowls and win a lot of games and win division championships. We got two of our best players re-signed. That's a big deal. Plus, Mike G. We're doing the right things. We're paying the right guys who work really hard for what they have. He also said, I think everybody was confident we'd get Jamar done, but to be able to get T done along with that speaks volumes about ownership, Duke, Zach, and their ability to get those things done. Again, that's Jeff Hobson of Bengals.com, that talk with Joe. The part of that stands out to me, Andrew, is the quote, we're paying the right guys who really work really hard for what they have. And then he goes on and says, let's see here. I lost it. Where is it here? Goes on and says, this is the downside of the live here. Where's the we're doing the right things part? I don't know. Well, he said we're doing the right things. So there you go. That's going to be a fun edit for you. But Joe also said we're doing the right things. Clearly pleased with the Bengals offseason. Your thoughts on Joe's comments?
I mean, first of all, I'm actually kind of surprised that Joe came forward and gave a statement after the fact. I mean, it makes sense. I think I just wasn't expecting. I thought Joe would be sort of behind the scenes doing whatever he's doing, going to UFC fights, going to Paris, or whatever's going on in the offseason with Joe. So the fact that not only did he give the statement, he came into the building, big hugs all around, celebratory. And I think that speaks volumes, because if you're going to say it before it happens, once it happens, to follow through and say, hey, this is the right decision. This is what I've been saying, without him saying that, is awesome.
Yeah, I think it's really noteworthy. And especially after they get the deals done, it's not like Brandon Scherff is a Bengal as we do this show and we're doing it live on Tuesday, or insert whoever you wanted the Bengals to sign. It's not like they had a bunch of external additions. And so for Joe to say that we're doing the right things, I do think it's important. Obviously, you have the Trey Hendrickson topic, which we're not going to cover a bunch today, but that's looming. I think that would be high on Joe's priority list and high on the Bengals' priority list of next things to get done. But it is a huge accomplishment, to be quite honest with you. Huge accomplishment. If Joe really feels that way and isn't frustrated behind the scenes, I'll tell you right now, Andrew, if they didn't get Jamar and T done, that wouldn't have been the case. We would have had a different conversation, and it would have been a much more nerve-wracking conversation and nervousness that would have been just around the franchise, just in general, about the future. And so to get those guys done, to know that the trio that is in its prime, that is under contract now for the next 4 years together, for Joe and Jamar, it's the next 5 years. That's a heck of a place to be. And I do think that when people like me say you want more, and I'm very outspoken that I want more from this franchise, from what they've done from an offseason move standpoint, I think that their counter, one of their counters would be, and it's a heck of a counter because there aren't many teams in the NFL, maybe a couple, but not many, that are starting with Joe, Jamar, and T. Like their big three might beat any other big three. Now you might prefer that third piece to be a pass rusher, and for the Bengals, it very much could be if they pay Trey. You might prefer a defensive tackle or a corner or whatever, and not two receivers. But man, oh man, you're talking about 28-year-old Joe Burrow, 25-year-old Jamar Chase, 26-year-old T. Higgins. That's a heck of a place to start. And so Joe signing off on this, I do think it's a huge deal that he's like, hey, we're doing the right things, which is the quote I could not find. It was buried in there. Yeah. I was trying to find that exact line. I think that's huge. And then for him to praise ownership as well, it's pretty noteworthy, and I thought it was worth highlighting.
It'd be nice if he came out now and asked for a starting guard, but okay, we'll talk about that in the next segment. Let me ask you this, and this doesn't change what Joe's saying in terms of it being genuine, because it's Joe saying what he's going to say. You take him at face value. We've said that time and time again. But what do you think happened first? Did Joe get wind, hey, I'm going to come into Paycor, I'm going to make sure I'm there for this? Or was there a little bit of prodding from, Bengals to say, hey, do you want to come in and kind of make a statement? It makes us look good. I don't mean that in a bad way, but I get how it works.
I think the Bengals were very aware of I don't want to say narrative, because I think it's true. Like Joe had an impact here, but the idea that Joe made these signings, you know what I'm saying? Like Joe was the reason. He put his foot down. He said, this is what you're going to do. And then they did. I think that was very much a thing that you didn't want to present. I think Joe was there training. I think Joe, now I think he's in California right now, this week training, but was in town last week, was getting some training in. Makes sense. Would not be shocked if he's at Paycor Stadium on and off throughout the offseason. And that was the case last offseason. He was rehabbing then. This year, you can be a bit more mobile. But when he's in Cincinnati, I do think he's getting work in there. But yeah, I think I don't think Joe would miss that, put it that way. Right. It's a big day. And it's a big day in Bengals franchise history. And by the way, if they win a Super Bowl during this 4 years of these three guys that are together, at least the next 4 years, you're going to think about that day and think about what Joe said in December and T. Higgins switching agents and all of the things that went into and led to this trio staying together. And I don't think it's just that. The fact that they kept Mike Gesicki matters. I think that on the surface, Joe is happy with what they've done from an external free agent standpoint, obviously adding a nose tackle, doing things like that. Like, I don't think it's just these two guys, to be clear. I think he is happy with their moves this offseason. And that's why it's today's lead, because that's noteworthy. If Joe Burrow's happy, regardless of what anybody else thinks, that's an important factor for sure when it comes to the Bengals offseason.
Now, how happy would Joe be about everything else? We don't speculate about Joe, but there's work to be done, James.
Well, and that's where we're going to go next. As of now, what should the Bengals grade be for this offseason? What would you grade them following free agency, which is not over? They could add someone right now as you're watching this video. But what grade would we give them for this offseason? We'll get to that coming up next. Hey, YouTube, just giving you guys a shout out here. We're recording Enter the Jungle, and really, really excited that you're here. We're going to continue recording our show. This is going to air on FanDuel Sports Network this week, multiple times this week. And so we're going to finish our show, and then after that, we will get to comments. I know comments are rolling in. So I would say we're 9-ish minutes into the show. It'll be 22 minutes or so. So we have a few more segments. We'll talk about the Bengals offseason. Obviously, we're talking Bengals the whole time. Joe Burrow is going to come up again. And yeah, hopefully, Andrew, I can read. That's going to be a fun edit for you. Dude, that line just got like lost in the text. Like
and it was before the one that you said. I didn't see it.
I know. It's because like the way I spaced them out, it was just like buried in the middle. And I'm like, I looked at it, and it's just on a Word doc.
That's all right.
So
I'll do an overlay with the quote, and then it'll just cut right to
No, I know you'll be fine. But I was literally like, why can I not see this line? That like the key line that like I led an article with last week. Anyways, all right.
No, you're good.
See, this is the behind the scenes.
Are you gonna for the recording? Are you going to me for grade first? Or are you giving your grade first? What are we doing here?
You.
Okay, just making sure. That's all.
Buckle up, big guy.
I'm ready. All right.
You know why I lead with you? I know your grade's going to be better than mine. All right.
We'll see.
Welcome back to Enter the Jungle. I'm James Rapien. He is Andrew Fox Miller. Catch us every single Tuesday right here on the YouTube channel, Cincinnati Bengals Talk, weekly on FanDuel Sports Network. And it's time to grade the Bengals offseason. Obviously, we started the show with Joe Burrow. He's pleased with what the Bengals have done. They re-signed Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. They brought in T.J. Slayton, Oren Burks, Samaje Perine. They also re-signed Joseph Osai, B.J. Hill, Marco Wilson, among others. They've had a couple new additions in the past couple of days. Lucas Patrick they signed. And so, Andrew, what grade would you give the Bengals to this point?
Okay. So I'm going to preface.
Oh, here we go.
It's going to be simple for me. There were three things the Bengals needed to do this offseason, right? We just addressed the first one in the last segment. Re-sign your stars. Re-sign the players that your elite tier quarterback publicly asked for. So obviously you locked up Jamar, you locked up T, you secured Mike Gesicki for 3 more years. And I know Trey Hendrickson still needs his extension at the time of this recording. As of now, he's still a Cincinnati Bengal in 2025. Like, I'm not comfortable with saying that because I do think it's going to lead to some tension, maybe a holdout during training camp if things don't move along. But by definition, you didn't let Trey Hendrickson, walk like you did Jesse Bates. Okay, so holding pattern there. That was 1. Sign your star players. 2, find your starting guards. You released Alex Kappa. You re-signed Cody Ford. You added Lucas Patrick. But as of today, there's no clear-cut starter at either guard position. So obviously, you could still sign a free agent that could start. Obviously, they could draft someone, an offensive lineman that could be your starting guard regardless. Until they find that guard, they failed so far in that regard. So there's that. And then last thing, 3, address your pass rush. We said it time and time again. Trey Hendrickson, again, still on this roster, assuming that's still the case. Maybe Joseph Osai takes a step forward. Maybe Miles Murphy breaks out. Maybe Jerry Montgomery revitalizes the D-line. I don't know, but we're still using maybes. We don't have the answers. The Bengals haven't demonstrated that they have an answer. So factor all that together. There's a lot of incompletes. And you even talked about it, James, through Cincinnati Bengals Talk on YouTube and on Locked On and bengalstalk.com, extensively covered some of the mistakes or misappropriation of cap space. Yeah. So it's all of that. And look, silver lining, your new defensive coordinator, your new O-line, your new D-line coaches, so on and so forth. It could be an average offseason at best if all of that comes together and it makes a big difference. It could. But for now, I'm going to say D+, and that grade jumps to a C or maybe even a B if they sign a starting guard and maybe even extend Trey Hendrickson. But that's where I'm at.
A D+. That's
right.
Wow, Andrew. I'm shocked.
I don't know why you're shocked. Why are you shocked?
Yeah, because you're a soft grader. You're a soft grader.
Soft grader.
You know how they have 5th grader? You're a soft grader.
C-. It's at best. Is that soft grading? What do you want?
I would have bet the world you gave them a C or better. I would have bet the world.
Because that wouldn't align with everything we've set up to this point. They haven't they've retained, but they haven't done a lot in terms of adding who they need to add or what they need to add.
Yeah, I'm looking at this list here, and it's like, all right, so Alex Kappa for Lucas Patrick. Like, at best, that's a wash. You're saving money, so that's fine, right? Like, TJ Slayton, you added him. He's a straight add. Oren Burks replaces Akeem Davis-Gaither, so that's kind of a wash. Now, you might think Burks is better, fine, but you're swapping out. Samaje Perine, okay, well, he's replacing Zach Moss, and that's kind of what you're doing. I know Moss is still on the roster. I don't think that's necessarily going to be the case moving forward. Marco Wilson, you bring him back. Joseph Osai, you're saying, yeah, Jerry Montgomery's going to be better. Like, your big addition, true addition, is TJ Slayton. And that, by the way, is an awesome addition. I like it. I love the signing. And in a vacuum, I like most of these moves. I like bringing back Joseph Osai. I like all of these things. But my biggest need for the Bengals, we said this probably a month ago on the show, biggest offseason need, all this talk about pass rush, all this talk about what are they going to do with this guy or that guy. It was guard. It was guard. It was protect. Guard has cost the Bengals every single one of Joe Burrow's years of his career in the NFL. 2020, ACL. 2021, cost them the Super Bowl. 2022, they have one more healthy guard, they may get back to the Super Bowl. 2023, it's a big reason why Joe was taking all of those hits and eventually got hurt. 2024, by far the worst position on the offensive line, guard. And so what the Bengals are doing is, and clearly what they're saying, is either one, we're going to sign one of these veterans and we know we're going to be able to get one, or two, we can address this in the draft and improve it there. And maybe they can. Maybe they can. But boy, oh boy, have they not built up the trust and the equity to give them the benefit of the doubt when it comes to drafting offensive linemen. Because everyone in the planet could have seen Amarius Mims and seen all the talent that he had. And so obviously Amarius is going to be good. We'll see how good he ends up being. But my Lord, when they've been in this position, they have not gotten the offensive line right. And it feels risky. So hopefully they go with a veteran. But to your point, re-signing T, re-signing Jamar, I'm fine with him getting it out of the way. I also would have been fine with him doing it in May. And the March, especially free agency, the first couple of weeks, that is about adding to your roster. And so when I look at what they've added, what they've subtracted, they're really banking on these coaches. Moves that they needed to make. They needed some new blood in there, clearly on the coaching staff. But I don't know how you could say they've had an above average, which would be a B plus offseason. They certainly haven't had an exceptional offseason. And so I would probably say C minus. And part of why I would say C minus, the Jamar deal outweighs some of it. Like getting that done is a huge thing. And there are weighted grades here. The T Higgins deal is huge. I do think they eventually get something done with Trey. I do think he's going to be on the roster. We'll see if that happens. But if you had a starting guard and you re-sign Trey, well, now we're up to above average offseason. Now it's changing, right? But to me, I would say C minus. But when I put the poll out on X earlier this week at James Rapien, and the people agree with you. I mean, you look at that, C average. Yeah, that's me. I'd C minus. Nearly 44% say that, but nearly 48% say DF, below average and awful. Just over 7% say above average, 1% say exceptional, and I think those are probably opposing fans.
Yeah, and I'm not going to get into particulars, but like you're praising them. I'll just use that word for the Jamar deal, but you could look at it a number of ways, obviously. Should they have done that in 24? Are they just simply doing what they should be doing? Therefore, is it just, is it neutralized? But okay, I'm not going to nitpick your grade. I'm actually surprised you actually graded higher than me, although I wasn't too far from a C minus. I considered C minus. I'm fine with D plus. I'll be all right.
Yeah, look at you. Tough grade. It's soft grader. You're going to lose that nickname.
That nickname existed just now. I don't know how I'm not going to miss it. I don't know.
No, it's sticking with you, but I just can't use it for the rest of the show. Up next, a familiar face. He's going to be eating some crab cakes this fall. We'll get to that coming up next. All right, we have two quick segments, YouTube, probably 5 minutes or so in real time. We're going to knock these out. One with, the newest Baltimore Raven, familiar face. Can't believe that got done. You'll get my reaction and Andrew's reaction, and then we'll talk about Joe Burrow on the way out. So, let's do that, Andrew. I think we got like 4-ish minutes, something like that, I would say.
Okay.
Of time. You think that's too much? 4 minutes for both segments. We'll go one to the other. We'll just.
Yeah, no, we can make it quick.
That's what I mean. Like,
I don't know. I'm just debating on which one I want to spend more time on. It's probably the Netflix quarterback thing, but.
That's fine. I'll give a quick thought on Cheeto. I'll give it to you. And then, by the way, after we finish the show, like the show, we're going to stay live here on YouTube and answer your questions. So don't go anywhere. We're not about to end the live. We're just wrapping up the show here over the next 5 minutes.
That's right.
Ready to go?
I'm ready.
Welcome back to Enter the Jungle. He's Andrew Fox Miller. I'm James Rapien. And Chidobe Awuzie, well, he's Baltimore bound, agreed to a 1-year deal or signed a 1-year deal on Tuesday with the Baltimore Ravens. Vet minimum. He's going to make $7.5 million from the Tennessee Titans because he signed a 2-year, $36 million deal with the Titans last March. Only saw 1 year of that deal, played in 8 games, had an injury last year, didn't play in a ton of games for the Titans. But the Ravens, they get him on a vet minimum deal. What do you think, Andrew? Because to me, this feels like a steal.
It feels like a steal for the Ravens. When I think about between the Ravens and the Bengals, for the Ravens, I think it makes, I'm going to argue, maybe a little more sense. Like you sign a veteran that can still start in the NFL on a league minimum deal. Awesome. Like the Ravens can use Awuzie to as like a cushion and better position themselves at being able to draft the best player available in April. But if the Bengals signed him, I'd be fine with it, of course. But there's question marks right now, missing a lot of games over the past several years due to injuries. The Bengals are trying to sort out their cornerback room as it is. Like Cam Taylor, Brett Dexhill, DJ Turner, Josh Newton. And then you got guys like DJ Ivey and Marco Wilson. So does adding Awuzie increase your chances of having a reliable starting cornerback that much? Again, I'd pay that minimum deal to find out, sure. But I'm not angry that the Bengals missed out on it or anything, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And I think it would come down to, for me, how into this cornerback class the Bengals are, how much they are willing to pull the trigger on a cornerback if the right corner is there at 17, right? And if Johnson out of Michigan is there, for example, Will Johnson, do they go that route? Benjamin Morrison in round 2, the Notre Dame corner, is that someone that they're interested in? There's a corner out of Kentucky. His name's slipping my mind at the moment, but blazing fast corner with good length. Like, are they in on corner early? Late, it doesn't matter, whatever. But if the answer is yes, they're in on corner early, fine with passing on this. League minimum deal. I'm not sure Cheeto has a ton left, but league minimum, worth a shot. Wouldn't have been mad at him if they did it. Not mad at him that they didn't. Hopefully the Ravens trade him to a team that isn't the Ravens, because I'd rather root for Cheeto and not have to see him have to deal with the Bengals wide receivers. But speaking of the Bengals, Joe Burrow, reality TV star. That's right. We'll get to that coming up next. Welcome back to Enter the Jungle. He's Andrew Fox Miller. I'm James Rapien. And yes, reality TV star Joe Burrow, that's a thing. And it's a thing because he's starring in the new Netflix season of Quarterback, season 2 of Quarterback, with Jared Goff, with Kirk Cousins, who's back again. Kirk Cousins, you just can't get rid of him.
Just high demand.
Andrew, I heard rumblings of this during the season. Like, Joe Burrow's going to be on quarterback. He's going to be on quarterback. I didn't notice one extra, and maybe I'm just in my world, like my own world when I'm at Paycor. Like, I'm at Paycor a lot during the season. And I walk around, I find places to record, like unique little crevices where I can get my recording in real quick. And so, like, I feel like I would know there was an extra camera. And so what I think this is going to be, and why I'm excited about it, this might be Joe at home, Joe training, Joe behind closed doors like we've never seen him before. Obviously, that would be the hope. That's got me excited.
Well, yeah, and primarily because I don't know about other Bengals fans. I don't know that I'm ready to relive the 2024 season, especially in July. Like, I had a hard enough time watching Hard Knocks and reliving the past week when those would air. So I don't know if I can commit to reliving the season if they're following him around. But look, yeah, like Joe has been stepping outside of his comfort zone. Like, it's been said time and time again, especially over the past year, like embracing celebrity status, we'll call it, right? He entered the league as a bit of a recluse, considering the magnitude of his fame out of college. And in the past year, it's like, what, he's donning a backless suit in Paris at Vogue World. He's made more appearances that I could think of on like various shows and podcasts, like Kelsey Brothers' New Heights and so on. It's just like one example, of course, but like typically you think he would have avoided those things. So he's clearly doing more things, meet and greet appearances, so on and so forth. So yeah, my biggest takeaway, do I want to relive the 2024 season? Hopefully it is off the field, outside of Paycor. That I don't know about other Bengals fans. That's what I would want. And lastly, he better get that Batmobile this offseason if they're doing any extra filming, because that's what I'm here for. I don't know, but I want to see the Batmobile in action.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see about the Batmobile. I wonder if that's still that's still on its way. A lot was made of that. I'm not sure he was too fond of that getting out. In fact, we deep down know that wasn't the case. But definitely excited to watch Joe on quarterback, just to learn more about his process. Like, that's the stuff I like. Like the Tom Brady docs, I've watched all of those. Like, he had a Facebook one like 10 years ago, 8 years ago, something like that I watched. And then he obviously came out with another one late in his career. But excited to see Joe in a different way, even if it wasn't a successful season. By the way, I think we can learn a lot from Joe that way as well, because I think that the 2024 season was the hardest year of his career.
Well, and he played, if you think about it, 2 different shows. You mentioned like Hard Knocks, quarterback. Think about the amount of cameras that were around him all last season, and that was some of the best ball of his career. So let's run it back and have more cameras on Joe Burrow in 2025. That's what I'm saying.
More cameras and more linemen, less pass rushers around Joe Burrow in 2025. I like it. He's Andrew Fox Miller. I'm James Rapien. That's going to do it for us. This is Enter the Jungle. Thank you so much for watching. Boom. Definitely went longer than we planned, but you can have fun cutting that.
That's right. That's all right. That's all right. Let's get
no,
to some
I think there's some stuff like the at the beginning when I fumbled that line there. I think like there'll be other stuff like that that's easy to cut. Anyways, welcome into Cincinnati Bengals talk. You just saw a live taping of Enter the Jungle. He's Andrew Fox Miller. I'm James Rapien. We've been enjoying these lives, doing them this way, and kind of filming them live, being able to talk with you guys afterward. So figured we'd keep that going a little earlier than we're used to. But yeah, 5 o'clock is a good time. Live at 5 is what we like to say.
Yeah. I don't know if this is referring to saying the comment here that he's going to need, I'm assuming Joe need a bigger helmet so his hair doesn't get messed up. I thought about that too. And I was just trying to fly through some things, talking about Joe and stepping out of his comfort zone. Like, yeah, he goes to Vogue World, he bleaches his hair, like, you know, just hair in general. Like, who knows what's going to happen next? I want to see Joe Burrow's morning routine.
Blonde Joe
splashing ice water on his face, and
Blonde Joe made a lot of sense.
It made a lot of sense. What do you mean?
It made a lot of sense. It's one of his better hairstyles. People were weird about it because it was like the shock value, but no, I buzz it again, Joe. You don't have to worry about it then. Like he's always got to, like, if you keep it short, it's maintenance free, and he's all about ball. So like in season, just keep that thing short. You don't have to worry about it.
Well,
grow it out.
He's all about ball, but he went to Vogue World and wanted to learn about a little bit more about fashion. So I guess my point is like that maybe he likes sort of maintaining things. Sure. I don't know.
In the off season, sure.
Okay, yeah.
But like, just easier, man.
Let's see here.
Slim Shiesty, dude.
Let's
told
go
you
with
Slim Shiesty
questions.
And I'm biased.
Not to bring this back down, but oh, sorry, I pulled up. Oh, yeah, no, this is the one I meant to pull up.
Yeah, what do you think?
What happens if the Bengals miss the playoffs for a 3rd straight year, especially if the Bengals do nothing else in free agency?
You really want to go down that road? I mean, we can. But no, I mean, I think you're looking at the front office and the coaching staff are really looking themselves in the mirror. And the how always matters with questions like that. Like, that's a loaded question, but they cannot miss the playoffs for a 3rd straight year. Like, they cannot. Now, otherwise, you really got to think about other changes, especially if it's like the same thing where it's like a slow start or like even injuries. Like, you just can't have the injuries. That's why the guard thing is so frustrating, because you can't have it. Now, they may sign Brandon Scherf in an hour. And if they do, then it feels different, right? Honestly, if you told me they signed Lucas Patrick and Brandon Scherf, like, that's fine, because then you could still draft a guard if you want to. But they need one more. They're missing a starting guard.
And to answer that question too, obviously it depends on how did they not make the playoffs? What was the reason?
Sure.
There are some big everyone's going to say changes you can consider they'd make regardless, but man, it really
everyone's going to say, oh, well, Zach's fired if that happens. And I'm not there because I just don't know. The how is such an important part of it. Like, what if I just don't want to go down that path and go down to the what ifs? It just depends. The how is huge.
This is a common one too, Filthy. He's been saying hire an actual general manager if they miss the playoffs again. That'd probably be the last thing that would happen, I would imagine. But
yeah, I mean, that's not happening. I mean, because Katie handles the contracts, Duke handles the personnel. That's it. I mean, Katie's still going to handle the contracts next year. That's not changing. And Duke is who he is. And by the way, I think Duke is a pretty darn good evaluator. Now they need to trust their evaluations at times, for sure. I like the Jackson Carman pick. Like, maybe I'm wrong. I don't think Duke Tobin was jumping up and down for Jackson Carman. Maybe I'm wrong. But yeah, that's what I'll say there.
We're going to shout out to Tommy
Ooh.
John here saying a city full of dogs, Chase Brown, Joey Votto. Oh, we're even going to throw in multi-sports. Okay. Joe Burrow, Barry Larkin. Absolutely. I still have some Barry Larkin rookie cards. Joe Mixon, Hunter Green, AJ Green, Matt McClain, Nick Liddell. Yeah, like with all that though.
Jamar doesn't make that list? Wow.
Oh, don't start.
Wow.
Don't start.
Doesn't have that dog in him. Headline. Joking. I'm joking. I was reading the comment.
Didn't mean to bring it down. He says based off of the question about the
no, I appreciate the super chat.
It was a good talking point.
No, it is. It's very possible. I mean, those things. I thought the Bengals overall had a pretty solid team last year. Now they had some obvious holes, and that's what I think they would tell you is like, yeah, we're not that far off. The problem is when they have an offseason where it's bringing the same guys back with a new coaching staff and you're adding a few pieces, but not a lot. Well, then there's still questions. It doesn't mean that they don't get quality answers, but there's questions. And that's an uneasy place to be in March and April and June, July. It just is.
Yeah, I just thought this was interesting. Nobody's talking about trading back at 17. I think we should.
I think
maybe not enough. Maybe not to Derek's liking.
Yeah, Derek, I think everybody is talking about that. I think that is going to be like, who's going to be the most mocked player to the Bengals? Trade back. That's it. Like everybody doing these mocks is trading back. And that leads me to believe that unless something really changes, that the Bengals will probably have to stand pat because teams aren't going to be looking to trade up. That's the part that's tough. And I looked at it and I was like, okay, well, what if there's a quarterback there? Well, maybe the Steelers would want to jump the Seahawks, or a team would want to jump the Seahawks and Steelers to get a quarterback. And so maybe that's how you find the trade up and trade back scenario. But like, there aren't a ton of teams that are going to be trying to get ahead of the teams that are right behind the Bengals, unless it's for a defensive player and the Bengals are just comfortable with it. But yeah, I mean, I do agree philosophically, like the draft could drop right where the Bengals are. Like if they had lost 2 more games, they'd be 12th and they'd be getting a stud, right? Instead, and I don't know if they'd be 12th, I'm just guessing, but they would be drafting earlier. Instead, they're drafting where they're drafting at 17, and you're like, that's kind of where the draft goes from the really stud prospects and then the really high-end first-round prospects to kind of like that next gear, and they might be picking at the start of that next gear. Well, you might want to get another pick and pick in the middle of that next gear in an ideal world. And I think that's probably the way they'll end up landing. But will they find a trade partner? That's the question. We're going to go for about 10 more minutes here, just so you guys know. Really, really excited to continue to do these lives. That's our, I don't know about you, Andrew. We haven't talked about it long term. My goal would be to try to do as many of these as possible from an Enter the Jungle standpoint so we can interact with you regularly. We're doing Enter the Jungle anyway. It might be different times since we're going to do them live. Yeah. So that's why I didn't plug the 8 o'clock. We might be a little more flexible with that time now if we're going to go live. But yeah,
hey,
really
if you showed up at 8 o'clock for pre-recorded stuff in the past, well, it'll be pre-recorded by 8 o'clock. Potentially. Exactly. I guess we've talked about going later at times, but that's usually just an extreme circumstance.
And by the way, sometimes we may go later. It just depends. But trying to make these a habit to go live would make sense.
Okay.
Oh, baby. Cam Skattebo.
Yes.
Yeah,
more
baby.
Upbeat question. What do you think of having Cam Skattebo paired with Chase Brown?
When are you drafting him? That's what's interesting to me. I like Cam Skattebo, and I think he's a fun player. He's a really hard-nosed runner. I'm looking up his measurables now. So he's my height, Andrew. 5'9.5", 219 pounds, like just a freaking boulder. 200. So he's my height, and has at least 5 pounds, probably 10 pounds on Joe Burrow a lot of time. Think about that. Like, that's just wild. And so in on that, love the idea of having another like small but good quickness, good burst, powerful back to complement Chase Brown. I think Chase Brown's a hard-nosed runner. I know he's fast and all those things, working on his hands. Cam can catch out of the backfield, really good run. I'd be down. I'm down for the football player. When are you taking him? Like, are you taking him in round 2? Because I'm not sure. Like, I'd be tempted by Travion Henderson in round 2. Like, if you're going that early, does he fall to round 3? Like, is that it? But yeah, there are plenty of worlds where I'd be in on Cam the player. It's just tough because early on in this draft, everyone's going to be thinking trenches. And it didn't feel like they addressed the trenches enough early in free agency. And so now early in the draft, everyone's going to be like, all right, hey, let's get defensive tackle here and defensive end. And this is my blind, not looking at any other picks outside of the trenches. That's how people are going to view it. I don't know if the Bengals will approach it that way. I hope they don't. I'm the draft players, not positions guy. But Cam Cidobe, thumbs up for sure. I like the player, no doubt.
All right, let's see. What do we got? I've got all right, how about this? This is right down your alley, James. You want to go ahead and read that one off for a second here?
Joseph, if the Bengals can only choose between Zadarius Smith and Calais Campbell, who are you picking? I go Smith because the defensive tackle position seems better in the draft. Yeah, fine with that, Joseph. And I probably agree with you at defensive tackle versus defensive end. I think there are a lot of question marks. Like, Mike Green's getting a lot of love today after what he did at the pro day yesterday. A lot of people are high on James Pierce Jr. To me, I look at the first round, and at least as of now, if I had to pick between end and tackle, I'm thinking about that tackle position. And Derek Harmon is the one for me that I'm starting to. We're just less than a month away from the draft. Derek Harmon is the one out of really all of them that's standing out to me as like, yeah, that could be the guy. And by all of them, I mean the guys like Donovan Ezeraku, Shamar Stewart, guys like that in the middle of the first round, towards the end of the first round, depending on what projection you're looking at. I'm looking Nick Scorton. Let's see here. I'm just trying to name all the guys like Kenneth Grant, guys like that you see and you're like, oh, well, they could. I think I'm in on Derek Harmon. And as of today, that would be my pick. Now, I'm still really early for me. Like, the next couple of weeks are going to be very draft focused, trying to hammer out how I feel about these guys. And I'm open to a bunch of positions still. But yeah, I lean defensive tackle. So to your point, yeah, if you can get some juice on the edge right now, and that's what Zadarius Smith gives you, I'd certainly be open to it.
Speaking of defensive line, what are your thoughts on Chris Jenkins making a massive step forward this season?
I love Chris Jenkins, the prospect. I love his makeup. I think he does have a lot of athleticism. I do think he projects to be a really good player. It's funny. I just looked up his draft profile and was projected to go round 2 last year. His NFL comp was Milton Williams. That's what Lance Zierlein had. Now, a lot of people would say, he doesn't have the juice that Milton Williams has as a pass rusher. We'll see. I think Chris Jenkins Jr. is going to be a quality run defender, was asked to do a lot last year that he really shouldn't have to do. He was never going to be a nose tackle that's going to take on double team. Like, that's not his game. So now that you add TJ Slayton, I think part of the hope is that unlocks Chris Jenkins, that unlocks what you could get out of McKinley Jackson. But no, I'm very hopeful for Chris Jenkins Jr. I would buy his stock right now because I think it's low, but I'm not sure that's his fault. I think he's a really hard worker. He's athletic. He's going to get better this offseason. Hopefully the defensive line, the new system in place with Jerry Montgomery, hopefully that helps him as well. Hopefully he had some pass rush juice this season. So optimistic about Jenkins. And I think I'm more optimistic than most people.
Sorry, I'm flashing this up here real quick. There's a Someone asked in the comments about Jordan Schultz. I don't know. I guess there's just more vibe to this than actual news. The latest on where things stand between the Bengals and Trey Hendrickson. Jordan Schultz says the idea of a trade appears dead, and the Bengals would love to complete a sweep of paying all their key players. I mean, that aligns with what's been said up to this point. I do think it's interesting that they would love to complete a sweep of paying all their key players.
Yeah, I mean, nothing different than what I said 2 months ago here.
Yeah.
That they wanted to sign all three, that I think they're going to sign all three. That was always the expectation. It went weird with Trey, but I think it's come back. It's come full circle. I'm putting a link in chat right now of something I wrote last week where it could take some time. But no, I think that's the hope is that they get all three done. Not shocked at all that's the case. Where when did
that was from
10 minutes ago he did that. Man,
Yeah,
of course something happens when we're live, you know. But yeah, I don't think that's really new. I think that the Bengals got their trade offers. They looked at them and they said, it's not what we want. They wanted a first round pick. It wasn't just that Trey's agent said, hey, we think we could get you a first round pick. I think the Bengals wanted a first round pick from the jump. The Bengals aren't going to be like, oh, well, yeah, you have permission to seek a trade. Get what you can. That's it. Like, that was never it. They value Trey. And so it's got to come back now to the negotiating table and getting it done. And when that happens, I'm not sure. But there we go. So not shocking, but it is worth putting up there. I have some writing to do after this, I think.
Yeah. We'll be doing that shortly. Let's see what else we have here. How about
yeah, we'll do one or two more. Any do we have any other? I just don't want to miss any super chats.
You kind of addressed the draft previously. Anthony had asked, who do you want in the first round of the NFL draft the most? I'm still kind of sorting through it myself. So go ahead.
Yeah, Anthony, I mean, you want that Ashton Genty kid to fall because he's like fourth on the big board. I don't think he will, right? That's what I want. I mean, I want Will Campbell to fall or Mason Graham to fall. Like, you want one of these studs to fall because the NFL overthinks it because of positional value. I'm still doing my research here in homework, but like this Colston Loveland, I want to talk about a dude. It's a real dude now. And he's someone that I like a lot. But when I look at the defensive line, Derek Harmon might be my top guy there. That's realistic as well, right? So we'll see. It's still early. Those are some names. A lot of them aren't what people are thinking. You know, Colston Loveland's going to be high on my board. I think Will Johnson out of Michigan could end up being high on the Bengals board. So he's got a private workout next month, and another interesting one as well. Oh, and I forgot about the Malachi Starks. I'm in on him too, out of Georgia.
Question of, do you think the lack of a good deep safety is going to negatively affect Al Golden's defense?
It certainly could. And that's why I think it's interesting. They're sticking with Geno Stone. I think that Xavier Watts is certainly someone they're eyeing. I think Kevin Winston Jr. out of Penn State is another safety to keep an eye on. There's the kid out of Texas as well. Like, there's some safeties in this class. And it may come in round one. Like, they may say Malachi Starks. They may look at Nick Imonwari, who's coming in on a top pre-draft visit for the Bengals. I'm with you, Kyle. Give Tyson Anderson a shot. I've said it all offseason. They clearly don't listen to me. I mean, Geno might not be happy with me right now. I'm not sure about that, but regardless, yeah, I would have done that because I think Tyson Anderson could play. And sometimes you get pigeonholed into these roles, and yeah, there's practice, but games are different, and we'll see. Maybe he'll get a shot, maybe he won't. But regardless, I do think that they're eyeing a safety in the draft.
We talked about Evan McPherson on a recent live, but do we think Evan McPherson will be better this year?
Yeah, I think I think Evans dealt with a lot of crap with the holding and the snapping, and I think, quite honestly, that if you look at that room, snapper, holder, field goal kicker, the snapper is the one on the hot seat, not Evan. That would be how I would view it. Doesn't mean Evan doesn't have to be better. Not at all. But I think a lot of his issues last year, when you talk to people that know what the hell they're talking about, you realize. And I was critical of Evan during the season, of course. Why wouldn't you be? Like, what the hell, kicker, make it. But there was more to it, I think. So, and I also think Evan needs to bounce back, and I think he will. He's got to be healthy, and I expect him to be the best Evan that we've seen in 2025.
By the way, some comments here that we appreciate, like loving this format, referring to the fact that we're doing our recording of what we would record typically for YouTube and put on FanDuel.
Yeah, we think it's cool. It's a fun way to interact. You guys watch us and support us, and so we're already sitting down in these chairs doing that show. We're just usually not live, and I think it's cool too. Like if I mess up or say something that I didn't mean to, well, whatever, we're rolling with it, baby. You know,
yeah.
I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Let's see what else we have here.
We'll do one more or so, and then we'll bounce.
Let's go with. I'm kind of backing up here. There's a lot of commentary, which is awesome. Just trying to figure out what. Yeah, we talked about trading down. I'm seeing questions about that. By the way, the trading down thing. I mean, that was a real talking point, heavily discussed last year leading up to the draft.
For sure.
And they didn't.
And thank God they didn't. Thank God they didn't.
Right.
And that's it. Is like, hopefully, Colston Loveland is 5th on their board and falls to 17, or Ashton Genty, or Will Campbell, or insert whoever. I mean, I'm just naming guys. Like, hopefully Derek Harmon's 7th on their board, and they're like, yeah, let's get him. Let's get him, man. And he'd be high on my board as of now. That doesn't mean he's high on their board. I haven't gotten that far, but a lot to like about Derek Harmon. If we don't have one, it's all right. It's all right. We could say bye-bye. It don't matter. We're in good shape here, Andrew. So that is going to do it for us. We appreciate you. Hopefully you like the new format. We'll try to continue this as much as we can and go live and be able to interact and turn Enter the Jungle into a show that we're recording live for you, and then also being able to interact with you afterward. It's filmed in front of a live audience. That's what we're going to have to get the disclaimer. Not studio audience yet, but live audience. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm good with that. And if you're out and about town, or you're at home and you have Reds content on through FanDuel Sports Network, I know they've got partnerships with Amazon and things like that now. You can let us know. Like, send something on social, like tag us if you could. Like, I love seeing that people are just seeing us, these recordings that we're doing, like just out and about town. Like, it's really cool to see. There's value in that to us, and we'll continue doing it until, I don't know. I think if it got quiet and I never saw it, I probably would be a bit of a bummer. It's extra work, and I like doing it, but I want to make sure everybody sees it.
This is so funny. Javon knows. That boy James trying to go. Yeah, that's right. Javon gets it. I appreciate you guys. But for Andrew Fox Miller, I'm James Rapien, trying to go. Thanks for watching here on Cincinnati Bengals Talk.